Hey folks, how's it going? Welcome to Sunday Stream, Hypnosis with me. I'm Lee. Thanks for being here. You may notice I am back again in my star phase. Last week I wore a shirt that was all sparkly stars, and this one is just like the bodysuit that's with all the stars. So I love it. Hope you do too. It's been a busy weekend. I started going to the gym technically this summer, but I didn't have it in me, or I didn't have the time, or didn't have something to go regularly. So it's been a few months now, I want to say, and I've started going twice a week, which is probably about my limit, because I also do some stuff at home, like Pilates and stretching. I go to see a massage therapist because sometimes, like, my job involves me lifting heavy boxes over and over and doing a lot of repetitive motion stuff. And the massage therapist I go to is always like, "You're stuck." Like, my fascia is stuck to my muscles are stuck to my bone, or something along those lines. So some days when they put me back to rights, it is not pleasant or fun. And I don't know if you've ever experienced that, but it's no bueno. But the end result is that then I feel good for like months and months and months, or at least I don't notice all the pain I'm in. I'm trying real hard to be flexible enough to touch my toes. I am not there yet. I'm working on it. I used to be able to put my hands flat on the floor, and that was great, but that was a long time ago, so I'm working on getting up to that point. Hello, Lycan. Nice to see you here. Thanks for being here, you and everyone else who's here. So from last week, we have two topics that we're gonna, we have two topics that we are going to do today. I just realized I had printed out some notes for myself on one of the topics, and I left them right out there. I'm not going to leave and go get them because that'd be awkward, but I am going to see if I have another option for them, as opposed to, just having to go off my memory, which would definitely forget something. So anyway, the first topic that I was asked to do is covert hypnosis. It's always a little bizarre, isn't it? At least in my brain. If somebody tells you they're going to do something covertly, how covert can it be? My guess is not very covert. That aside, we're going to go for it. So what does that mean? There's going to be an induction without an induction? You're just going to magically enter trance and everything's going to be fine? I don't know. You tell me. You can let me know how it works after we do this. And I will also probably tell a story about you, which you also may have heard. I'm going to tell a story about being at a hypno party and somebody wanting covert hypnosis done to them. Anyway. And then the other thing we're going to do is an NLP technique called eliminating limiting beliefs. From my perspective, I've done it before as the subject. It's hard for me sometimes to know specifically if a thing has worked well for me. I'm just like that. I don't often have like this most clear goal in mind, and that would probably be helpful. But what's a limiting belief? It's something that stops you from moving forward or prevents you from doing a thing that you really want to do. So in order for you to get the most out of eliminating a limiting belief, your brain has to understand that there is something holding you back something that is not letting you move forward. It's holding you down, it's holding you back, and you would like to get rid of it. So let your brain think about that for a little while everything else goes on. Because the more your brain thinks about something that it would like to get rid of, while you find yourself moving forward, that will be ideal for the second portion of this. Yeah, I do. I think that's a lot of what he does is myofascial release. And I had somebody back when I could touch my hands flat on the floor, when I was that much more flexible. I had somebody like do all that to my back, and they were kind of surprised then at like what they were able to do. But it was definitely like I'm not even sure if they did it a right way, but they basically like pinched all the upper skin of my back, and they just like pulled it away from my body, or from they just removed the fascia from wherever it was stuck to, and it was great. But yes, some days that's fine, and some days they're like, oh, it's way deeper, you need to get in there. I actually have a little bruise over here. I don't get bruises very often from massage, but I have one over here because they are doing some stuff in this area. Did you know that if you hunch forward like this all the time, your muscles in the front get short and tight, and the muscles in the back get long and tight, and so you have to like not do that. Anyway, all right, so I'm going to tell you a story. This was, I believe, in, I don't remember how long it was ago. It was at least a decade ago. And my friend DJ and I throw a house party in Texas at this super cool Airbnb that we found. And there's a bunch of people there that we do not know. It wasn't limited to people from Texas. There were people from other places that were there as well. But there was a local guy there whose one desire was to be covertly hypnotized. Except he went around asking all the women that were there if they would do that. And all of them sort of gave him the same response that I did, which was, if you're asking to be hypnotized, it's not covert. Like, there are definitely people who would be happy to do that, but you can't be expecting it. Otherwise, what's the point? So you see my reluctance to really go into this. So we are hanging out in the living room, playing some games, and there is a couch that holds 3 individuals, and 3 individuals are sitting on that couch. I may not remember this specifically and exactly, but whatever. So we're playing games, and DJ asks if somebody would like to be hypnotized, and somebody raised their hands, and so they go to hypnotize this person. But along the way, they're hypnotizing this person, they're talking about how good it feels, and you may feel good right away. You may notice that there's nothing left of your resistance. It's all gone. He's talking in that kind of pattern. I don't remember exactly what he said. It was a while ago. And so he's focusing on this one person on the sofa. I'm guessing they're in the middle. Or it was like somebody on a chair, the person on the sofa, and then other people on the sofa. However, this person goes into trance, and then the other people on either side also went into trance. And it was a delightful example of how you can be covertly hypnotized by sitting in the splash zone, as some hypnotists are known to call it. I guess I am one of those too. Which is to say, you're sitting too close to the hypnosis and you get sucked in. And that's one of my favorite examples of it, I can still see those people who were not supposed to be hypnotized, who are not supposed to be hypnotized, get hypnotized. This is one of the nice things that when you talk about when you talk about hypnosis folks and you're like, you can hypnotize me anytime you want. When you say something like that, you just have to be prepared for actually going into trance, right? And that's kind of fun. So let's talk about the ways in which I think that covert hypnosis is easily achievable. Is it always ethical? You tell me. So at that party, everyone had already given permission. Whether or not they were expecting it, that's another story. I've definitely talked about how there's an episode of The Mentalist where the actor goes like this. Someone comes up to him and he kind of goes like this, and the guy's like, what's going on? And then he like quick patters him, and that quick patter and the distraction was just enough of what was needed so that he could elicit the information from him. There are definitely a lot of shows where they show hypnosis and I'm like, I guess that's correct. Because almost anything can work on almost anybody, right? But sometimes, you know, different shows get things really, really wrong. So anyway. So the covert hypnosis, sneaking up on somebody, or I remember once, again, this was quite some time ago, and this was after I'd gotten into hypnosis, but I hadn't been doing a lot of stuff with it, with a lot of people, in my opinion. And so I'm talking to this person, and I'm just typing out to them, and they went into trance while I was typing. I think I was also, I think I'm also a little bit, I was a little bit angry, which does help me type better. I don't know if you would get in that same state where you're just like typing furiously, and then the words just come so fast. Is there hypnosis against anxiety? Well, you know, yes, hypnosis can be really good for that sort of thing. We're not going to do that today because we already got a packed schedule. But hypnosis can be very good for allowing you to let go of anxiety. Actually, you know what? You could think of, when we do the second section today, the eliminating limiting beliefs, if you can be really specific in your own mind about the things that cause you to be anxious, you might be able to very easily feel some relief for that by the end of that session. So I feel like there's always tells, though. I feel like there's almost always tells. If somebody is going to talk hypnosis to you, you might find yourself absolutely just caught in that. Now, I don't really know for sure, because sometimes these things are harder to pay attention to than others. But I think that there are ways of distracting people that you can allow them to focus on something that is not necessarily your words, and that perhaps as they find themselves, you know, focused on the things that are not your words, maybe you realize that you've been distracted, and that because of that, it's easy for you to realize that you've found yourself in a completely different state for some period of time. That perhaps you thought you were focusing on one thing, and then your brain just realizes, oh, holy heck, what's going on now? Where have I been? Were you even aware that something different happened? And I say this because I'm recalling a lunch that I had with a friend when I visited Chicago. and we are sitting outside at this little deli, at their seats outside, and they had real salt and pepper shakers on the table, and it was a very nice place, and the salt and pepper shakers were absolutely spotless. And they were shiny and silver, and it was just enough of a sunny day so that it was really easy for all the holes and all the shine of that salt shaker to capture their attention, and for them to discover that they couldn't let go, that they found themselves frozen in place, that they discovered that they could barely speak, and that their unconscious mind was just so happy to listen to everything else that I was saying, which may or may not have had anything to do with the salt shaker. I don't know. But what is it that your unconscious mind likes to pay attention to that can allow you to find yourself realizing that as you focus on that, everything else can fade away? And maybe, when I go to sleep at night, my hearing definitely sort of turns itself off, and then it turns itself back on in the morning. And that was the thing that Erickson noticed that kind of happens with people who work in factories. They sort of turn, if they're really loud, they turn their hearing down, and yet they still are attuned to the people that are around them. So they've turned the sound of the machinery down, that they can still hear, say, somebody hollering at them from an aisle or two away, or somebody, making an announcement. Their brain can be attuned to that sort of thing. And the idea that we don't necessarily have to hear what's going on, as long as our senses are alert to something that we might have to find, useful, something that we might want to find important. So our unconscious mind can know that it can turn things up or down, on or off, in any sort of meaningful way for us, so that we can allow ourselves to just give in to a state that becomes practical for us. Now, if you're one of those factory workers, you might have noticed that you found yourself, say, focusing on the things that were going through rollers, or if it was a weaving machine, the way the shuttle moves back and forth. But your brain can know that there's a process going on, and maybe you've watched some of those videos. Like, I don't know if you've ever watched any of those YouTube videos where your unconscious self just feels what that's like, to get sucked into watching something happen. Like, the process as it happens goes on and on and on, and it just feels so much better about that. And it can really visually pull you in, and the way that your unconscious mind can visually pull you in, you might realize is just absolutely easy for your brain. Like, as it pulls you in and you don't have to think anything else about that, you can know that your unconscious mind just feels so very good to absolutely surrender and to just give in to whatever it feels is most important at that time. Because maybe the sound isn't important, or maybe your vision isn't important. And depending on which way you find yourself responding, maybe you begin to feel something. Like, maybe you're looking at, if you've ever seen like those ASMR videos, a lot of people say that they get tingles, right? Tingles like at the back of their skull. So maybe that's something that you get from watching something like that, or it's sort of watching / hearing, right? A little bit of that, a little bit of both, a little bit of visual, a little bit of auditory. And the way that your unconscious mind can then simply pick up and run with those thoughts and those feelings and those ideas, maybe your brain can know that when you do that, it's really easy to give in. Because the more you find yourself in that state of absolutely understanding that your unconscious mind gets to be in charge for a moment, the moment that you found yourself letting go, the moment that you were so focused on something that other things could just slide right in, that can be really fun for your unconscious mind to take advantage of, to let those messages or those actions or those ideas just hit your senses just right, and then you don't have to think about anything else. But you might be thinking, well, how do I know that I've been in trance, right? How do I know at that moment in time that I've been in trance? Well, that's the beauty of it. Sometimes you can be covertly hypnotized and absolutely not even know it. I mean, I always think about because this is one of my favorite genres, but I absolutely love like spy thrillers. I don't know why I love them so much, but I love the idea that you could be sitting down, say at a European cafe somewhere. It's always there in my mind. And somebody, just slides right into your table and starts talking to you. And maybe they touch you in certain ways. Like maybe they offer you to shake your hand. Could a handshake induction be covert if you weren't expecting it? Absolutely, because do you know how many times it's so easy for me to shake somebody's hand and then their hand turns cataleptic. If your hand turns cataleptic, that means you really can't move it. It's easy for you to find that your whole body can become cataleptic. It's easy for you to realize that you're just kind of stuck in that place and you're listening to whatever they're telling you, and you may have to pass on a message or to drop something off at a place. And then when you've done it, well, it's done. And you can go about forgetting that you ever knew any of that. Like that's like where my brain goes when I think about covert hypnosis and not knowing that you've done a thing and maybe realizing later that your brain is like, I think I did this thing, and I don't know for sure if I did this thing, but I think I did this thing. So let your unconscious mind think about all the ways in which you might find yourself absolutely positively stuck on something that somebody has said to you, something that somebody has done to you, in a way that prevents you from being able to turn it down, having to respond, and then not remembering that you've responded. It's all fun, right? It's all for fun. Unless perhaps you're the unwitting dupe of some spy somehow, somewhere. So let your brain think about those things and let your unconscious mind bring you back if you were in trance. And if you weren't in trance, sorry about that, but if you were in trance and you wanted to be in trance, did you know or did you not know? And we'll talk a little bit more, and then we will move on to the eliminating limiting beliefs, which I'm going to talk about a little bit more because I think it is absolutely fascinating. So if you've come back, go ahead and find yourself just in a really fertile state of mind that allows additional change to happen to you really simply. So, and I'm going to talk about the process of the process. Yay! Thank you for letting me know. Did it happen for anybody else? Hopefully it did. I never know. It's a little bit challenging sometimes. So I would like to say that with that person that I was typing furiously to, I knew that they had gone into trance because the way that they had started responding to me was very different than the way that they had been chatting with me before. And it can be absolutely fascinating for your brain to have no idea, to not realize that, to know nothing. I feel like sometimes it's just like this little blip. If you've ever read A Wrinkle in Time, sometimes I feel like it's that. Like you don't necessarily know where you've gone and you've come right back to that same spot. So this is from I had heard about this before, eliminating limiting beliefs. And in 2017, I attended a workshop at Charmed. If you have not heard of Charmed, it is a hypnosis convention that happens annually in Maryland. I am going in 2025. It happens usually sometime in January. I don't know if they have any more tickets, but I will tell you that they do not. I think the hotel has been sold out, but there are other hotels in the area. So if you wanted to still go to, I believe it is now the biggest U.S. recreational erotic hypnosis event in this country, and it's a lot of fun. So if you wanted to go to that, you could possibly still go. I don't know. I don't keep track of if there are tickets left or not. I just know that the hotel was sold out when I got mine, which wasn't all that long ago. All right, so this was from a class I took in 2017. The person that taught it is a hypnotist and NLP person from Canada, and I thought it was absolutely really powerful because I could feel and see all the things I was talking about, and I've used it successfully with other people for them to also get rid of their limiting beliefs. So again, it could absolutely be something like anxiety. You do want to find yourself focusing on the thing that doesn't, work for you. Like, I think it's better to pick one thing that you find yourself going, I wish I just didn't, blah, blah, blah. Procrastination, maybe. We'll figure out how that goes. So in this process, what we're going to do is I'm going to ask you questions. And you're going to identify all of your limiting beliefs, or all of them relating to a theme, like having challenges in kinky play, for example. This is from the notes that I received from that class. Or as a last resort, a single limiting belief. So you want to take everything that is holding you back or holding you down. Every single limiting belief that you have, or a theme that you have that you think is holding you back or down, and then a single limiting belief. So for me, it might be that I'm lazy, let's just say. I do a lot of stuff, but every once in a while I get this idea that I'm lazy, and I think that that holds me back, so maybe I'll go with that one. And so the basic outline is that you identify the group of limiting beliefs you're going to work on. You associate with the problem, right? So I might associate with that problem by remembering times when I think I should be doing something and I am not doing it because I'm doing something else. If you're a procrastinator, you might be one of those people who's like, oh my God, I don't want to do my taxes. I don't want to learn to use this new program. These are all very me specific, FYI. So don't feel that they have to relate to you. You have to find the thing that relates to you. And so instead of doing the thing I should be doing, I'm cleaning the house or doing something else. There's always something else that needs to get done in my world. So, and then, so once you've identified the group of limiting beliefs you want to work on, you've associated with the problem, you're going to transmute them all into energy. And you have that energy flow from your brain, down your arms, into your hands. So you disassociate from the problem. And then you transform the energy in your hand from the energy of the limiting belief to the energy of the belief's counterparts, which is to say that you change the dissociated problem. And then you bring the energy of those counterparts, the thing that you've changed, back into your body, and you transmute that energy into new beliefs that replace the old ones. And then to help lock in those changes, we're going to future pace a sample of the changed beliefs to confirm that they have indeed changed. And then you visit your future self to understand how these new beliefs have changed your life. So this is a little bit like in between play or therapy, because you could use it for both. I'm definitely more of the in between than not, but you could use it for almost anything. And I love that you could use it for almost anything, because in which ways are you being held back? In which ways are you being held down? You can think about those, and then we'll go about that. So while you're sitting in the comfort of your own home, so a limiting belief includes limiting beliefs like unnecessary fears. A belief is something that something is bad or harmful or dangerous. A habit, when we have a limiting belief, we develop habits around that limit. These habits can be as pervasive as the beliefs themselves and thought patterns. The easiest way to run this pattern is to go after every single limiting belief you have. And what this actually what this actually accomplishes is to allow the unconscious to choose which ones it recognizes as limiting. And this pattern can be run over and over and over again. So, for example, you are gathering all your limiting beliefs, you go through this process today, and then you find yourself making those changes. So then, like, next week, you're like, oh, I could do that again. You can do that again, so don't worry about it. And so this, because it allows your unconscious mind to make all the choices, it's simple. Your conscious self doesn't have to worry about it once you've helped identify some of those things. If you get the sense that what you are starting to do is becoming therapy, stop. Because some blocks have really deep psychological issues that need professionals. And we're not going to, you don't have a relationship with me outside of this video. So you're going to need to take a little bit of personal responsibility and make sure that you are tackling a personal responsibility level of limiting belief that you can address by yourself that should not have any terribly painful repercussions. They should have lasting changes for you in the most positive of ways. If you find yourself crying, for example, that is not an indication that things are going dreadfully wrong. But if you feel deeply inside you that things are going dreadfully wrong, please let your unconscious mind know that today is not the day for that, and you will want to tackle that with somebody who can be there for you and can allow you to fully and wonderfully express what you need to express so that they can give you the tools that you need to help you through that process. Thank you. So you can do a lot of stuff here without having challenges like that. So allow your brain to know that. And as your brain knows that, you can find yourself just feeling really, really great about how it's going to go. Okay. So this is what we're going to do. So identify the theme that you would like to find yourself tackling or addressing. All limiting beliefs or a subset of limiting beliefs. And when you find yourself doing that, maybe you close your eyes and your unconscious mind thinks about what those things are. Maybe you keep your eyes open. It doesn't really matter. Have your unconscious mind seek out those beliefs. So your unconscious self can just go deep into your mind and find all those things that you've identified as a limiting belief. And then it can sort of go crazy finding as many of those as possible in your mind. As soon as you've done that, you can give yourself some kind of signal. Maybe you curl your hand, maybe you nod your head, maybe you just say, got it. Whatever it is that works for you, go ahead and do that. Allow your unconscious mind to take each and every one of those things it finds, wherever it is in your head, and convert that completely into energy. As soon as you've done that, give yourself another signal that you are ready to move on. And then put your hands out in front of you, whether you put them on your legs or on your desk or wherever, and you allow your unconscious mind to just take all of those things that were limiting beliefs, they got changed to energy, down, down, down one of your hands and arms, just one, until you know that every bit of that has gone from your head, down your arm, into your hand. And so one of your hands is full of that energy of these things that used to be your limiting beliefs. So while you're here, while you're doing that, I'd like you to think about what color that energy is. Is it moving? Does it have a temperature? Is it doing something interesting in any way? Can you feel it moving or vibrating? Can you feel the heat? Can you hear it in any way? Is it crackling? What color is it again? Make that energy as real as possible, and make sure while I'm talking that every single bit that was in your head has been transmuted, gone in your arm, and then you see this ball in your hand, right here. And allow your unconscious mind, as it does that, to notice how vivid and real that is. If there's movement, describe it to yourself. Is there a distinct boundary to it? Does it weigh anything? Allow your unconscious mind to know that these are all the things that were holding you back, holding you down, and they have transformed from those things into energy which is now in your hand, and you are doing your very best to characterize and describe that energy. In your other hand, whichever other hand it is, I'm going to bestow upon that hypnotic power to transform the energy from the energy of beliefs that hold you back and hold you down into the energy of beliefs that will lift you up and propel you forward. So you're going to take that second hand and you are going to make physical passes over your first hand that is holding that energy, right? Almost like you were putting your hand over a crystal ball to clear it, to see what was in there. And you're going to continue doing those passes until you know that the transformation is complete, that this hand completely transformed all the energy that was inside that hand, the hand that's holding that energy up, that this hand has completely transformed it from what it was to something that instead will lift you up and propel you forward. So you do that until that's all done. And now you're going to look at what's there in this hand, and you're going to tell yourself about that again. Has it changed colors as you were transforming it? What did it go from? What is it now? Is it moving? Does it have a boundary around it? Can you feel the weight adjust in any way? Is it moving or still? Let your unconscious mind have free rein so that you on a conscious level can feel what that's like, can see what that's like, can hear any differences. Allow yourself to go as wild as you possibly can with that. And let your brain just really enjoy how good that feels. As soon as you have noticed that change and categorized it in your head, you're going to take your other hand and support that hand. And you're going to take that and just press that right into your heart for about 10 seconds up to a minute. Press it in only as fast as your heart can absorb it. Notice how good it feels as your heart opens up and absorbs it. Feel how fascinating that color energy is being pumped into your heart. And maybe you can feel that. Maybe you can imagine that. As it gets pumped into your heart, that energy, maybe as your heart beats, you can imagine where it goes and feel where it ends up. And maybe you can now find yourself feeling it going back up your neck and into your brain. It goes to every muscle, nerve, and fiber of your body. But as it goes into your brain, note that as it travels along those routes, any residual energy that might have been left over as it was leaving your head and going down to your hand begins to be changed to that new form of energy as well. And then once it's in the place where it needs to be, or all the places it needs to be, that energy transmutes from energy back into new beliefs, the ones that lift you up, the ones that propel you forward. And allow your unconscious mind to notice, to observe as those new beliefs end up in all the spaces that those old beliefs were, so that there's no space left empty and there's no space with that old energy in there anymore. And if you have more new beliefs than you had old beliefs, your brain can just make some new room for those places. Your brain can be like a TARDIS where there's always more room on the inside. All right. As soon as you've done that, your unconscious mind is going to want to know how impactful this is going to be for you going forward, how this is going to work for you. So I'm going to ask you right now to find a small, minor context where in the past you held yourself back or down. Something tiny, don't pick anything really big. That's not the idea here. We're not picking anything big, just something small where you realize you didn't do a thing that you really wanted to for whatever reason. Think about that color energy, that new color energy that's going all through your body, lifting you up and propelling you forward. You have new beliefs in your mind, the ones that have completely replaced the old ones. Create a scenario which represents that minor little thing and let it play through now. You can do it with your eyes open or closed. And if you'd like to, you can say out loud or you can type in what that thing was that you found yourself changing. As soon as you've done that, you're going to pick something a little bit bigger. Again, not a big thing, but a little bit bigger. So a medium-sized context where you've held yourself back or down. You're going to run that through, and you're going to go through as many variations of that as you can, and you're going to let me know how that goes for you. And when you've done that, when you've finished up with that particular medium-sized conflict that you might have had in the past, I say conflict because it's an internal one that you had with yourself. You wanted to do a thing, you did something else. So now you're going to find something that's a really big deal, something that's very important. And this time, create a scenario with several different variations, at least 4, where your brain can imagine you now responding to those situations in this new way, in a new way that allows you to feel empowered, that allows you to know that you are moving forward, that you are being picked up instead of repressed by your own brain and your own habits and your own thoughts and beliefs. Everything instead is designed to move you in the direction that you want to go, feeling as good as you possibly can about that. So you're going to find different scenarios that you can run that through really quickly, let your unconscious mind just kind of zip right through them so that you can feel what that's like to have this new way of thinking installed in your brain. So sometimes when you've done all those things, sometimes people have limiting beliefs that have held them down so severely in the past that you couldn't even dare think about them. If your unconscious mind has anything like that, go ahead and do that again, just like you just did that last one. You're going to find multiple scenarios, and you're going to run that through 4 times, right? If you don't have anything like that, congratulations. So, how is this going to affect you in the future? I'd like you to imagine a ribbon of light that extends all the way to the right and all the way to the left as your timeline. When you see your timeline, you know where your future is. Imagine yourself going up into the air above that timeline, go out to your future far enough so that you know that your future self will have had some time to experience firsthand all the beliefs that have changed and knows that they all work just fine. It's okay if you go too far. The future expects you. When you find that point in time, float down to meet your future self and have a chat. Discover what it's like what it's really like with all of those limitations gone. As soon as you've done that, bid yourself farewell and return to the present. It's possible that you may still need to do this process again and again with other limiting beliefs, especially if you were a little more narrow in scope this time than you would have to be or you would like to be. So allow your brain to think about that and to run through that. And as soon as your brain has run through those ideas and those thoughts, thank yourself for doing such a great job at making these changes happen to yourself. And then go ahead and come all the way back up. If you could tell me, if you did this process, what color your energy was and what color it changed to. That's all. And in the meantime, I'm going to show you something shiny. Because why not? Can I do this even? It's harder sometimes. So if you need something visual to look at while your brain feels what that's like. Purple to gold. That sounds pretty good. Thank you. No more covert hypnosis with the eye. So I hope you like that. I hope your brain was happy to make those changes. And again, I probably went through this fairly quickly, but allow your brain to just know that you can come back. You can learn what these processes are, how the process goes, and you can do it anytime you want. Sometimes it does take a while to do it, but usually your brain just can understand the concept, and you can get better and better and better at responding to how all of these things go. So let your unconscious mind appreciate how good it's been today. Your unconscious self is always doing a great job for you. It's always doing the best for you that it possibly can. So let that happen, and I am going to see you again next Sunday. I don't know what we're going to do next Sunday. Maybe we'll do some hypnosis for anxiety if there are any better ideas. But let your unconscious mind think about that. Let your brain understand how good it can be for you to just really appreciate how fun it can be to either go into trance without knowing that you're going into trance, or to help eliminate problems so that your life all the way around is a little bit better. So I'm going to say thank you for being here. I appreciate that you were here today. I hope that your week this week, if you are in the U.S. and you are celebrating Friendsgiving or Thanksgiving or whatever it is that you're doing, I hope that you are having a great time. And I will look forward to seeing you next Sunday. Bye.